What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. It is Tuesday at 9 a.m., which you already know what that means. We talked to our guy, Nick Underhill, about the New Orleans Saints at Nick_Underhill. New Orleans Football is the site. I am a proud New Orleans Football subscriber for multiple years now, 3 years, however long it's been. It's awesome. If you're a Saints fan, there's just no better website for all the information. Remember, Mike Triplett is now on the team as well. Nick, what's up, man? What's going on? I love it. Look at that. We get glasses, Nick, this morning. I don't even think I knew that do you wear contacts normally?
I do. Look, I'm not going to lie. Like, I totally would have forgot about doing this. I woke up late, and thankfully, Danny and Mario were on it early with the email. Yeah. So I saw the email when I woke up, and I was like, oh, all right, it's Tuesday morning. So, yeah.
Okay,
so, yeah, we're here with the glasses.
So actually, Nick, some show news. Danny moved on to bigger, better things just last Friday.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Better.
So Danny is gone, unfortunately. But our guy Taylor did a great job being on it, getting the email in early on. There you go, Taylor. Nice win for you early on here, bud.
Yeah, not to speak ill of the dead, but that makes sense because I used to get the email. I used to get the email at 8:58, and I'd be texting Mario like, "What the hell is going on here?" So shout out to Taylor. Yeah, thank you.
Can confirm. Danny would get pissy when I said something. Yes, can confirm.
Hey, so we opened the show today with a bit of an odd topic, Nick, where there's a piece in the Picayune just about kind of like, the last 16 months and being a New Orleans sports fan and how all your highest paid professional stars, it's been a really rough 16, right? Now, it was about Brandon Ingram, about Zion, and about Mike Thomas. Now, I do think there's a critical difference there in that as good as Ingram and Zion are, they never achieved anything near what Mike Thomas achieved when he was out there, right? I mean, he was on a literal, inarguable Hall of Fame trajectory at the beginning of his career, and it has been completely thrown into disarray. So I started to get a bit excited yesterday when I saw the deadlift video and everything. But let's start here with Mike Thomas. Just last month, Dennis Allen saying he's still not 100%. They're not going to put him on the field until he is 100%. Do you have any insight as to like where he is actually with this toe and what could possibly be going on with this toe to cause him in March to still not be 100%?
Well, two things. One, are we sure we want to start the Instagram hype? Because we did that last year, yes. And I feel like this Tuesday spot was maybe responsible for people like putting the Saints in the Super Bowl last year because we were so into the Jameis Instagram videos. So I'll take a hit there. But look, I saw the video too, and he looks good. I mean, I looked it up. Like a dolphin, I guess, weighs 500 pounds. So he was basically lifting an adult dolphin there in that video. So shout out to Mike for that. Look, the things with his injury, he's tough. He's tough to know what's going on with. It's tough to get information on him. And I think part of the lack of information on Mike in general is that Mike doesn't want people to know what's going on with him. And people will respect that if you tell them, hey, don't ever say anything about my health status. With that being said, I'm not saying this is like a hard report. I'm just saying as far as asking around and hearing maybe what's whispered back a little bit, I think that there's some hope that maybe we see him doing some on-field stuff during OTAs, or I'm sorry, during minicamp, not OTAs. Maybe not full go, but out on the field, moving around, maybe doing some stuff. But again, last year, Mike kept that whole part of the process invisible from the media. And then one day during the middle of practice, he runs out into the field during 11-on-11 drills and runs her out and catches a pass. And that's how he made his return. It was kind of under a cloak. So Mike might be doing some on-field stuff where we don't see him during minicamp. So it's kind of tough to say. But I do think come training camp that he's going to be out there. He's going to be healthy. But I think the reluctance for Dennis Allen to say, hey, he's going to be back on July 27th. If Mike isn't back out there, why even create that pressure on him? And it's going to piss Mike off, and then that alienates him, and you're in this weird situation. So I think sometimes the stuff that we want to know doesn't always align with kind of what's best for the program. And look, people are going to be pissed off if someone isn't playing, but if they're playing and everything's going good, it doesn't matter. All that pissed off stuff goes away. If Mike comes back and he plays 17 games, all the frustration of the previous years melts away. So it's just, it's frustration in general that people aren't healthy, and there really just isn't a good way to handle it. I would love to be able to say every single time, hey, April 18th, like this guy's coming back. But I know as a reporter, when someone says, hey, they're going to be back by this date, I never say the date. Like, I'll be like, he's going to be back in this time frame, like, because things change all the time. And then I look stupid for having the wrong date. So it's just nothing ever goes to plan. And living in the realistic world, I just think it's hard to say, like, this is specifically when they're going to come back.
I will say this, Nick, on the topic of getting excited over Instagram hype videos. I never want to become so cynical or beaten down by the world that I close myself off to love, right? And so have we been burned? Absolutely. But I'm still going to approach this thing glass half full. I'm telling you, watch. I see the future. I saw it this morning when I was taking my notes. Mike Thomas returns. Zion Williamson matures. Brandon Ingram picks up where he left off. Both teams make the playoffs, and the city is healed once again. One more, Mike, before we move on, because I'm sure there's draft topics floating around in the air, and there's a ton of good draft information on New Orleans on football. Mike Thomas seemed very excited when Derek Carr was signed. It feels like that was kind of one of the impetus behind him returning. Do we have any insider information on that relationship yet? Like how it's developing, how they're working together, just where his excitement level was at for Carr?
So I think it was a shot at our heart directly. I think Derek did some scouting, and when he did his introductory press conference, he said that he would not have any Instagram videos of him working out with anyone. So no specifics on them getting together and working out, but they did talk about making that happen at some point. I know Mike's been with Chris Olave this offseason, so that's something too. So that's a good thing to see. But I do think they're going to get together. They're going to work on it. Mike definitely was excited about Derek coming here. And there was a point this offseason where it felt like for sure these sides were going to go different directions. And I do think that getting Derek changed the perspective on Mike's side about what he wanted to do, the kind of, trimming of the contract he'd be willing to take. So I'm excited to see those two get together and start working, because you picture Mike, say, even at 70% healthy, I think him with Derek Carr is something that's going to work really, really well. And some of that stuff that he used to do with Darren Waller, I think that you could put some of that on Mike's plate. Some of the, the stuff over the middle that they were just so good on. I don't think that necessarily has to be done with the tight end. So I just think that type of player with Derek and that type of player with Mike, we saw it before. I mean, I think that it could be a really, really good combination. So I'm always going to believe in Mike's ability to play until someone tells me he can't. And I'm sorry, I'm glass half full on him. I've just seen him perform too well. I know how hard he competes. I know how much he cares about the game. So I'm always going to be the believer until there's just absolutely nothing left to believe in. So I'm excited to see that. I mean, that's at the top of my list of things with this team. And I think if you got 10 games out of Mike Thomas this year, I mean, that would be a huge benefit. You got to backstop it. You got to have a plan B and all that stuff. But anything out of Mike, I mean, we saw it last year. If he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he's going to be able to play. He's going to be able to make them contested catches.
Well, Nick, speaking of having a plan B, we've got the NFL draft coming up, and I know you're probably diving all into that. It's going to be coming up here very soon, next week, in fact, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I want to ask you this, because I've seen a lot of different mock drafts, and I've kind of put together the first 3 rounds for the Saints and where maybe some people have them selecting or who they have them selecting. I want you to tell me which one of these is the most likely. All right, so in the first round, Brian Brzee from Clemson has been a very popular choice for the Saints. In the second round, Luke Musgrave from Oregon State had a really good Senior Bowl. Watched him down there in Mobile. Third round, A.T. Perry, receiver out of Wake Forest. So with those 3 picks, first round, second round, third round, which one is the most likely for the Saints?
I would like the Brzee pick just because I feel like that's the biggest area of need. Third round receiver, that doesn't necessarily bother me. That's kind of the sweet spot for me for a running back. I feel like if you get the running back in the third round, you kind of have your pick out of a handful of guys. You can get, Texas A&M, TCU. Yeah. HA, the UCLA running back should be there. So, I think you have a handful of guys that you could go after right there. I don't think you have to reach that in the fourth round or kind of take the leftovers in the fourth round. So I like the D-line in the first round. If they strike out on D-line, I think Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver, could be an option maybe at 29. I think the preference is to go to a different position, but I think the value there would be something that I would keep an eye on as far as if they're striking out in front 7 players. But I do think that there is a desire, all things being equal, and obviously they're going to let their rankings and their board dictate where they go in that range a little bit. All things being equal, though, I mean, I think they definitely would much rather draft a defensive player in the first round.
Yeah, and there's actually a great article on New Orleans on Football right now, title of Draft for Need or for Value. Saints should do both by selecting a mid-round running back. So if you want to explore that further, go ahead and check that out. That's by Mike Triplett. Nick, here's God. I had a very embarrassing moment. I completely blanked for a second there what I was going to ask you. NFC South news. Devin White is getting out here, maybe not too happy in Tampa, saying he want to trade Jason Lycott. I've been like, well, that's too bad, Devin. We're not going to trade you. What do you think? Is there any chance that Devin White gets out of Tampa Bay, or do you take a light at face value there?
I think that he could end up on his way. Look, everybody's going to say their player isn't available until they get an offer that makes them available. And sometimes these things become self-fulfilling. I've seen it a ton of times where the team will be like, no, we're not trading him. That's a dumb report, da-da-da-da-da. And then lo and behold, the player ends up getting traded because now this report's out there, and that's kind of a signal for teams to make the call. And then when the phone rings, someone answers it, and maybe you hear something you like and it changes your point of view on things. I think it would make sense for them to trade him. I don't really know that they have anything to kind of compete for right now with the roster they have. So if you're going to go into the rebuild, just embrace it and go for it. And I think the Falcons have done more to get better. Carolina, if they get this quarterback pick, if Bryce Young becomes, the savior immediately, all of a sudden they're a really good team too. I just don't see the quick path for Tampa. So if you could get more draft assets and get things that can help your team down the line, I think it would make a ton of sense for them to move him.
Nick, which moves in the South, non-Saints moves, do you think maybe could have the biggest impact this upcoming season?
I like a lot of the stuff Carolina has done if they get quarterback right. I think they've done a really good job. I think Atlanta's done a couple things that are okay. I like the Jesse Bates signing. I don't, the trade for the cornerback, I don't see it, overpaying for some former Saints players. I like the Caden Ellis signing, but maybe not at that number. But look, he might prove everybody wrong, and I think he has the ability to be worth it. But immediately out the gate, it felt a little rich to me. So most of the stuff that I like Carolina because you can look at them and you see a direction. Now maybe Atlanta catches lightning in a bottle and everything works out and they hit it and go, but it just feels a little bit like dual world there where they're overpaying for vets on one end and trying to get younger on the other, and it doesn't necessarily all come together to paint a very clear picture. But I think they could be a decent team. I think Carolina has the best chance of being good if they get quarterback right. But I still like, as they sit today, where the Saints are probably for the next year or two, assuming they get the draft right. Long term, though, Carolina, I think, is set up to be a pretty good team.
Nick, do you have any thoughts on the Jalen Hurts contract from yesterday? Jalen Hurts now the highest paid quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, I think he deserves it. The Super Bowl kind of really showed what he can do. He could be a really, really good player. I think the flip side to it, though, is you spend that much money, it becomes harder to build a team around the guy. And I think Philly's success was at least somewhat in part to having a really good offensive line. They had elite weapons everywhere. And I just think that becomes a little bit harder to do. But that's kind of what happens with these quarterbacks. Even looking at Kansas City, they had weapons all over the place. And then you pay Mahomes, and now all of a sudden you keep one elite guy, Travis Kelce, and then the quarterback, it's kind of his job to elevate everybody else and make up for that value. And he does it. It's same thing happened in New England. Brady never maxed out, but they always kind of had that one elite player. With Breeze, it was Jimmy Graham, and then it was Brandon Cooks. And then once Mike Thomas came, it became Mike Thomas. And that was kind of the way they move forward with it. You have one high-paid guy that can kind of bail you out when everything else falls apart. So Hurts is just going to have to show that he can be that guy. And I think we saw him make tremendous growth throughout the season. So for that contract to work out, it's just he has to become that just consistently top tier quarterback that can elevate everybody around him.
Yeah, it's so funny thinking back about how when the Dolphins started hot and Mahomes looked a little more human. We were like, oh, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes is dead in the water. And then he's like, no. I'm still Patrick Mahomes. Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill. Nick, I look forward to talking to you next week. I don't know exactly when I'm going to watch draft day, so I don't know if it'll be before next Tuesday or the night before the draft, but I will learn the legend of Bo Callahan soon enough here. You have a great day, Nick. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, I got one question. Two words. Jake, who's your guy at 29? You're the draft Nick on the show. I need to know who your pick is.
Oof. I like a tight end, I think.
Okay.
I like Kincaid if he's there.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be there though?
You might have to trade up to get him. I love him. I think he has Kelsey-like ability.
I do too.
I think he's special.
Oh, how about this? I would be okay trading up, by the way, to get him.
Don't overthink it, idiots. Darnell Washington's like 7 feet tall. Just draft him.
Have you watched Kincaid?
Right.
Can you tell me what school Kincaid played for?
No.
Exactly.
Juan Kincaid. I love Juan Kincaid though. He's a great kid. He probably if he's like Kelsey went to Cincinnati.
Okay. He went to Utah.
Oh, okay. Hey, close. Basically the same school.
Cincinnati and Utah always been claimed to be the same school. You're right.
I agree. They're kind of equivalent in terms of, Pac-12 champs, baby. Okay, actually, that's the guy that Cam Rising was throwing to constantly last year, right?
Imagine that. You found the quarterback for Utah, and the tight end's probably going to be a first-round pick, and you put those two together. Yes.
I'm saying no, but
Cam Rising was throwing.
I'm saying my only memory of him is him dominating that Florida game.
He dominated a lot of games.
Then he almost go for like 200 against Florida last year.
So, right now, the latest ESPN mock, I was trying to pull it up as you were talking there, Dalton Kincaid going 15th overall to Green Bay. Does that sound about right, Nick?
Yeah, I think he's probably in that like 15 to 22-ish range. I think if you wanted to get him, you'd have to go up and get him. I think that could take the first and the third.
That's
maybe.
what I was about to ask. Like, what would it take to get up to 15?
Yeah, trade value chart. I think it'd probably take first, third, and maybe some change to get up to 15. It's doable.
Don't tempt Mickey Loomis with a good time. Okay, that man will jump up immediately. Nick Underhill, thanks so much, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.